To make black eyed peas, you're going to need black eyed peas. So these black eyed peas have been frozen, and I just put them in some boiling hot water. And you want to let the water come back up to a boil once you put the frozen black eyed peas in there. And then once it starts to boil, and again, so frozen black eyed peas, boiling water, put them all together in the pan, crank the heat up, because the cold black eyed peas, the frozen black eyed peas, are going to cool the water all the way down. So you want to let this come back up to a boil. And then once it comes up to a boil, turn it all the way down to a simmer. And depending on if you're doing like a half a bag of frozen black eyed peas or a full bag, is going to dictate how much water you need and how long you need to cook them. This is 2 cups of frozen black eyed peas to 1.5 cups of water. And I cooked this for 30 minutes and they are perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and drain these, and then I'll show you how I like to infuse a little more flavor into the black eyed peas, just to zhuzh them up depending on what you're going to use them for. So I've gone ahead and drained my black eyed peas. If you were making a soup or doing something else with them, you could certainly reserve the liquid, but I'm going to be making a dish where I don't want the liquid, so I've drained them. And then I just have a little cup here, and I'm going to add about 1/8 teaspoon of Diamond kosher salt. And then I'm also going to add about 1/8 teaspoon of ground white pepper. I'm going to add some granulated garlic. So about, depending on how much you like garlic, I'm going to add in 1/2 teaspoon because I like garlic. And then I'm also going to add in 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. Actually, maybe a little bit more, like maybe I'll do 1/4 teaspoon. Let's do 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder. And then I have some ground cumin here, which I love. So I'm going to actually add 2 1/2 teaspoons, so 1 teaspoon of ground cumin. And then I'll just give that a little bit of a mix. And then I'm going to add that to my beans. Just give them a good mix. And then I'm ready to use them in my dish. So again, depending on what you're going to use them for, will dictate what seasonings you put on them, whether you use, the ground cumin or some garlic, some onion powder, you can have fun with your spice combinations. And that's it. I have some white corn here that I just removed the husk from. And I did microwave it for about 5 minutes to make it easier for it to come out of the husk and not have so many grainy pieces left behind. And I just have a bowl here that I've tipped upside down so that I have a little platform, and I'm gonna just take my corn right off the cob. Get all that goodness, and then I'll just repeat the process with this one. All right, that's it. So my corn is all prepped. Would you like some? So my corn is all ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and start on the next thing, which is to make my dressing. So I'm gonna get this out of my way. So I've got some fresh cilantro. I have a little bit of white pepper and some garlic powder. I'm also going to be using a little bit of honey powder. Honey powder is great to use in the place of liquid honey. So if you want something to have that delicious honey flavor, but you don't want to deal with the stickiness, honey powder is great for that. So I'm going to be using that as my sweetener. I have a lime here that I need to use. So it's starting to turn yellow. So I'm going to use that. And then I've got an avocado here. And I just have a little a mini food chopper that's from my stick blender. So I'm going to cut my avo first. Here we go. So I will ditch that. My olive oil too. So I'm just gonna scoop this out. Bring my little chopper over here and put this in. This is a great way to use up a go-to that maybe has only a little bit of life left in it. So I'm gonna use that part. Just get all the good pieces out. So I have a little bit of cotija cheese here that I'm just cutting up. This is in block form. Easier to chop it up. I like the cotija cheese because it adds a little bit of brininess to the dish that I'm making. It's also really good with corn. I make a delicious cotija lime cilantro corn. It's like a street corn style. So be sure to check that video out if you love corn and cotija. All right, so that looks good. So now it's time to put our salad together. Okay, so it's time to assemble our salad. So I've got my fresh corn here. Yum, so delicious. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that to my large bowl. And you can just come through and break up any pieces that you need to from pulling it off the cob. Now, if you wanted to be really indulgent, you could saute this corn in some butter. I'm gonna just keep this light and fresh today. So I've got some romaine, a little bit of romaine to this as well. Give that a little toss. I've got some red bell pepper. I'm gonna go ahead and add some of that in for some lovely color. Now, if you have some fresh tomatoes, these are some fresh tomatoes from my garden, you could add those. But because I don't want to add any more like liquid to this, I'm gonna opt to not include the tomato. I have some beautiful fresh cucumber from the garden that I have diced up that I'm gonna put in. I feel like the cucumber is enough moisture versus the tomato. So we've got that. So I'll give this a toss. Look at that. Look how pretty that is. Add a little more bell pepper so we get a little more color. Love the bell pepper. Okay, so that looks lovely. I have some green onions here too, or scallions. Add those in. And then I also have my black eyed peas that I cooked up. This is a great protein source. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw some black eyed peas in there. So if you're not a big meat eater, this is wonderful to have those black eyed peas as your protein source. So we'll go ahead and give this a nice little toss. This is a lot, so what I recommend that you do, just to keep kind of the freshness of things, is I recommend that you take out what you think you might want to eat. So let's do up a little bowl here. Am I moving around too much? Yeah? Okay. All right, so let me move this out of my way so we can see. So what I recommend is that you just portion out what you're ready to serve. So that way you're not dressing the entire bowl in case you want to have leftovers. And then from here, you could add in your cotija, you could spoon in some of your dressing, and then you can go through and give it a toss to coat this. My other favorite trick is to put it in a Ziploc bag with the dressing and shake it up so that you get everything nice and coated with that avocado dressing that we made. And then from here, once you get this all mixed up and incorporated, then you're just gonna wanna taste it and season it to your preferences. And there you're just gonna have a really nice, fresh, delicious side salad or a side dish. Could be a main dish if you're a vegetarian, minus the cotija. Enjoy. So good.